Good morning again. Ray Puga with Downstream. We're ready to get started here. Our first presentation this morning is using 3D elements and blueprint documentation. Joe Clark is presenting this morning. Most of you know Joe is one of our founders. Joe previously, of course, was with Pad Software and Innovata, and has, I like to call him our evangelist for the blueprint software. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and I'll talk to you again at the end.
Thank you, Ray. I'm an evangelist now. Wow. Hello, everyone, and thank you for your time today. And I've got 30 minutes to show you how you might consider augmenting your standard 2D documentation in Blueprint with some 3D elements. So a short presentation, and then we're off into a demo. I hope everybody can understand me and hear me clearly. Basically, when you look at our current release of Blueprint, the version 6.x, and I think some of you got a sneak preview at our 6.5 release tomorrow, the overarching emphasis has been on adding 3D visualization to our tools. And in Blueprint, which is not a design tool, we've added 3D elements and models which will allow you to visualize your design in 3D in a variety of ways, and take that information and place it on drawing sheets. And we're going to cover that in a demonstration. We've also added a stack-up visualizer. The stack-up visualizer, while this isn't a design tool, excuse me, the stack-up visualizer is really the foundation for the rendering that we do in Blueprint in 3D. In addition to that, it allows you to make a bi-directional handshake with your fabricator to explore different stack-up possibilities, depending on the materials and so on that they have on hand. And for those of you that saw the introduction to our 6.5 release yesterday, you can see that the stack-up visualizer is going to play a key role as we go forward in our support for cores, whether it's defined in the design data coming into Blueprint, or you're going to define them yourselves, as well as as for supporting rigid flex technology. And then last on this slide is we've also added the ability to export the document in 3D, both 3D and 2D. And this is with the Adobe 3D PDF tool, and it recognizes those elements in the document that's being created that are 3D, and it sets up all the interactive models and so on, so that actually in the 3D PDF, which we'll show at the end in a short video, you can rotate the PCB, cross-probe to parts lists, and so on. So these are the highlights of the current version of Blueprint with its 3D capabilities. This slide is an example of a sample document could be other sheets in this document set that are 2D, a sample of a 3D document. And as you can see, we have a PCB view, and just like in the 2D world, we can have as many views of the PCB in 3D, formatted and oriented independent of all other views. We've added an explode view, a 3D explode view here, which has its own visibility, color, and camera control. Here's an example of where we can use the stack-up visualizer to give us a 3D view to augment the standard stack-up or via stack-up, coming right from our stack-up visualizer. And again, you can orient that, and you have as many of these views as you wish. We've also created two new, we'll call them widgets, and those are scrollable parts lists and scrollable note blocks. And I'll talk about those in more detail in a second, but suffice it to say that when we're doing 3D documentation, we're looking at it electronically. And what we need to be able to do is contain all the information relevant to that document sheet on the same sheet. And often, and I'll jump to that slide now, often, a good example is a parts list. When we drag and drop our parts list template onto a drawing sheet, we have a lot of parts, even though we may be able to go right or left across a sheet or left to right, it still may cross sheet boundaries. What we've done is we've created a scrollable version of our parts list. You can use either one, it's up to you. But if you're looking to use electronic documentation, the scrollable parts list is a better solution because it keeps the parts list all on one sheet. Same thing with the the note block. And allows the user to scroll up and down to look for the information that they're interested in addition to adding call-outs and all that sort of thing, which is supported in the scrolling elements as well. So to summarize that, because we're now into 3D and 3D documentation, electronic 3D documentation, we needed to create new elements to make the electronic documentation more usable on a PC or laptop, iPad, and so on. Blueprint, we don't use step models of the actual components, and it's not an issue or shortcoming in Blueprint or in our capabilities. It's more because there's no real standard out there for what a model of a component will look like across all CAD tools, import and export. What we do is we render the 3D view from the component outlines, from all the layer information, drills, routes, and so on, and the component information, the outline and the height information in the imported design database. But in addition to that, you may want to have further information, detail, if I may, in your 3D documentation, and that can be done by importing, just like you import today a DXF file or a Gerber file or a PDF file or the design file itself. You can import a step model of the whole PCB, which then becomes available to use on a drawing sheet as you choose. And I'll demonstrate that as well in the demonstration. Most CAD systems do output, sorry, I'm going backwards, do output step files, step models of the entire PCB. And in the demonstration, I can show you when we import that step file that there's no standard for what that step file architecture is. I'll demonstrate that to you. And last but not least, in terms of the introduction or overview here, is the 3D PDF export. And again, this is an Adobe tool. It recognizes the 2D elements from the 3D elements. It creates all the interactive elements in the exported PDF, which gives us different camera controls when we're in the PDF, the zooming, spinning. I can link the bill of materials, the parts list, that's scrollable parts list, which is scrollable in the exported PDF, to the PCB and cross-probe. And all the content and the amount of content and the number of sheets is completely user-definable. Okay, so that's the introduction to the actual 3D capabilities of Blueprint. Now, what we want to do is let's move on to the actual demonstration. So I'm going to close out of my presentation, and I'm going to bring up my document set, and I hope everybody can see this. And here, what I have is a standard, basic, very basic, 2D document set. I brought in my design. I've got a fab drawing, and I can display that over here in my navigation palette. I've got my fabrication drawing, which is my drill drawing, some dimensions. I've got my note block, my drill chart, my via stack up, my nomenclature, pretty basic stuff. I could have more, but for the purposes of this demo, this is sufficient. Next, I have my assembly drawing. And I've got two views of the PCB on the same sheet. Top side, bottom side, got some pins turned on. I've got my side view, got my assembly notes. And then last but not least, I have my my parts list, which I make part of my document set. I don't have to. It varies out there from our experience and what customers do, but parts list is basically a linear or tabular version of the assembly drawing. And of course, we can create all the hyperlinks and so on for the different parts to help us search and work our way through our document set. Sorry about that, it's going on to my other screen. So now, I'm going to zip down here. I've got a blank sheet which we're going to, use to create our 3D documentation. Now, as everyone knows, I've got a design view. It's always been there in Blueprint, and it's a 2D design, very similar. In fact, we based it on all of our experiences with CAD tools over our careers, up to what you would see in your CAD system, in your PCB design system. I can access components, decals, layers, and so on. I think everybody that uses Blueprint's familiar with this. Now we've added a 3D design view, and I need to switch back to my PCB rendering, not my step file. We'll come back to that. And here is my view of the PCB in 3D. Note that here I'm in kind of a CAD mode, and the colors and the settings are more like we would see in a CAD system. Here in my 3D design mode, I'm modeling the physical PCB. So my silk screen is, my solder mask is green, my silk screen is white, I can see the components, I can rotate the PCB as I wish across any axis. And let me bring that back home. I can change the views to be bottom, front, back, left, right, have it your way, okay? We can look inside the PCB in a variety of ways by spreading nets, as I'm doing here, if my PC would catch up with me, okay? If I want to display my dielectrics or not display my dielectrics, I have those options. I can peel off layers. All of the functions that one would expect in a 3D tool is available here in Blueprint, just like it was or is in our CAN 350 design tool. And I can change my modes. Let me just bring that back, squeeze things down. And we can also bring this back to a design mode, more like a CAD tool mode, just like we saw here in design, because we can switch between our modes. You can set up your own schemas, okay, for colors and what you want displayed, and save them away and load them and swap them in and out as you wish, for whatever best suits your needs for what you're trying to accomplish. So we've got all these 3D capabilities. Now what we want to do is take advantage of this. We can view it, I can rotate it, I can spread it, I can peel layers, I can cut in the X, Y, in the X dimension, the Y dimension to look inside the PCB. Let's go back to our document and see what we can do in terms of taking advantage of that on a drawing sheet. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, activate that sheet, and I'm going to go to my assembly drawing tool palette and find my 3D PCB assembly. I'm going to drag and drop it onto the sheet. Here's my 3D. I'm going to expand that to some size I feel is appropriate. That's what I want. I'm going to, let me edit that and get a different perspective here. I'm going to rotate that a little bit so I give some idea or some perspective on the layers. I'm going to spread the layers, just, to give some view inside. Again, if my PC will catch up with me. There we go. I'm convinced that these web tools slow things down. So I've got that. I'm going to turn off my dielectrics so I can see inside. And you can, of course, I didn't do this, but we can zoom in and look at the internal structures. We can cut along axes. And I'll zoom out a little bit. That's good. maybe turn that up just a little bit more, see how that looks in my view. I like it. Let me zoom out on that and position that where I want it. I think I'll add a explode view, and I'll bring that over here. I want to highlight something in the PCB in this corner for whatever reason, and let's make this a 4:1 magnification. Easy to do. So you can see it's very much like the standard blueprint, yet I'm working in 3D, which gives me all kinds of opportunities for presenting information in a different way, more accurately, more detailed. So now let me just slide this up there so it's out of my way. I'm not going to get too fancy with the formatting for the sake of time. And now what I'll do is, I didn't lock that down. Let me move that up. Sorry about that. There we go. I'm going to place my parts list, my scrollable parts list. I could put a regular parts list. These are my company's standard parts list template. But because I want to keep the information all on one sheet, not cross sheet boundaries, I'll drag and drop that over here and place it. Notice that this symbol appears. That's telling us that this parts list is associated, locked to this PCB view. So I can have multiple PCB views and multiple parts lists. And when I create my 3D PDF, this is where that interaction comes in and allows me to cross-probe in the actual 3D PDF. So, and you can see I can scroll through, and I have all the same features and functionalities here that I have in 2D, so I can find components and whatnot. Okay. Now I'm going to place, because I think it adds value, adds some perspective. I'm going to add a 3D via stack up, and maybe make that a little bit bigger. And again, I want to edit that, so I'm going to edit the 3D stack up. I'm going to spin it in a certain way. I'm going to make those dielectrics more visible. Get that in the center. I like that. I have no blinds and berries. It's a relatively simple design. And I like it. That's what I want. And then last but not least, I'm going to, actually I want to do one more thing. I'm going to bring another 3D view in. Mark's going to yell at me, right? 3D rigid, I want a 3D bare board. No, I'm in the wrong palette, I'm sorry. I want my 3D PDF assembly. And I want to create a side view of the same PCB in 3D. So I'm going to edit this 3D PCB view. Notice I can right mouse click and edit. Also, when I activate the 3D view, I get the toolbar, which gives me the same commands as I have here. And what I want to do here is I'm going to look at this left. I'm going to tilt it down just a little bit. Okay, and go back to so now I have a side view, and we'll make that bigger. You know, one of the things that, and you can probably sense this a little bit on my PC, I don't have the best graphics card and memory for doing 3D, so you're going to want to have you know, a PC that is capable of working in 3D, and that's going to require a little bit more horsepower. I'll just slide that up, and good. All right, now the last thing I want to create on this sheet is my note block. So I'm going to move up here, slide my note block down, and this is a scrollable note block. I don't have to make it scrollable, but I'm putting it into a tight area, and I'll slide it up a little bit. Now you can see, let me make that font bigger just so it shows up a little bit better on my screen. and we'll slide this out. And now I have a scrollable note block. I mean, again, everything's contained on one sheet, and I can add callouts as I wish. I'm just making this up now as we go. It may not be relevant to anything, but maybe I want to put a callout on note 2. I'll do that by name, and I'll tag that to the PCB, just like in 2D mode, same capabilities. You get the picture. So you know, depending on what your goals are and what you think is relevant and important in your documentation, here's a simple example of adding to a typical document, 2D document set, 3D documentation. Now, as I said in the presentation, we can import step files as well. So I've already done that, but it's just like importing PDF, DXF, anything. I go to my import menus, choose step model, and browse to my step file. I have actually already brought in a step model of the PCB, a completely different PCB, by the way, because I don't have a CAD system to duplicate this design. So I'm just going to bring this in for demonstration purposes. And here's the PCB. And again, I'm placing this on a drawing sheet, so when I create my PDF, this would be interactive, just like my top side views, bottom side views, particular layers, however I have it oriented, spread, and so on. And just like with the PCB views, I can edit this and change the orientation. And here's where I'll show you what I mean by the step data. Here, this is an example out of a CAD system. And here is the list of the elements that make up this particular step model. Now, it doesn't mean anything. It's just some gibberish. I don't mean that negatively. It's just, you know, some default naming. But in some outputs, and you can see these are actually components that I'm selecting. In some outputs from CAD tools, there's actually more intelligent information here, so I can actually see nets, components, and so on. The point being in that is that while we understand and can bring in step data, there's no standard format for it, which is why we're not doing the components itself, but we are recognizing step at an umbrella level like this. So now I have that set the way I want, and that view should change to match that at some point. There we go. And I have my document set. Now what I would do is export this to PDF, and I've already done that. And what I'm going to do now is to show you a short video, because on my PC, I just don't have a powerful enough PC for the Adobe tool, the Adobe Tools 3D. So I'm going to show you that in the video. So give me a second just to reset my screen here. And I have this. And I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, here's our page with our 3D views on it, starting with a 3D note blocks or a scrollable note block up here, a scrollable parts list. Down here we have our stack up, our 3D view of our stack up. And over here we have our 3D PCB view, which I can manipulate around and can always come back home to get the first view. There's also different ways of looking at the data. You can go transparent and some other options in here, as you can see.
I do have a tree that I can pull up where I can choose which parts of the PCB I want to see. So I can go into the design and I can go in and turn layers on or off, basically peeling layers on and off. And then my favorite, I can cross probe from this scrollable parts list to the 3D PCB view. And that's kind of nice in this view, but let me show you another way of doing it here. So I'm going to try to find something fairly large here. All right, well, that's good enough. See that component there? We've highlighted it, use 6. What I'm going to do now is right click on this and go to a multimedia full screen. And it's going to take that view with that cross probe component highlighted and show it to me here full screen, and I've got all those same controls that I can change the views and how I'm looking at this in a full screen mode. It's similar to our 3D tab inside of Blueprint. But these are the 3D PDF tools inside of Adobe. So we created our document set there in Blueprint, but the end result we're viewing in Adobe and are able to manipulate it in a 3D mode in Adobe.
Okay, I hope everybody could see that video and understand that strange accent of my colleague. Now it's time for questions, and hopefully we shed some new light, gave you some new ideas during these 30 minutes we spent together.
All right, thank you, Joe. How does this work with the Blueprint viewer, the 3D technology?
The viewer today is 2D. The plan is to update that at a future time. So that is on our to-do list.
Okay, but you can get a 3D view there, correct? Just a 3D tab is available to you in the viewer.
Just the 3D, yes. You can do the 3D viewing, yes, sorry. Yep.
Okay. Another question, are scrollable lists searchable?
Say that again? Scrollable?
Are the scrollable lists, like the parts list and the note block, are those searchable in Adobe?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a really good question. All the text is.
I actually do. I tried it while you were going there, Joe. Yes,
I don't know.
they're fully searchable.
Good question. Yeah, all the text, all the text and everything is intelligent, but I never thought about that. So thank you, Ray. Good question.
And let's see. I've got some positive comments, but that is it for the questions right now. Okay,
I'll wait. We can wait a minute and see if anybody has anything. But no, that's good. And again, the idea is, and other tools that you have, I'm sure, similar things exist where there's a lot of functionality and capability there that, in the pressure of our day-to-day jobs, we just don't realize is there. So these sessions are a way we hope to just, spread some ideas out there and get you thinking different about what you actually have on your desk. So hopefully this was of value.
Okay. I want to thank you, Joe, for your presentation, and thanks again, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ray.